All right, so today we're going to be looking at this. This is our first embroidery job. Okay? One of the things that you should probably learn first is one color and stacked elements. Now, they are two separate animals altogether, but together they make a pretty good product. So I think this is called kanji or something like that, but we are going to be looking for a Japanese symbol. We're going to be ripping it apart into separate elements, and then we're going to stack those elements. So for example, like this right here is on top of, or these are on top of this, right? You can see how they're stacked. Okay, same. These are stacked on top of the center element. This one's stacked on top of this element. So that in embroidery looks pretty cool, right? Nice. So let's get started. First, we're going to have to find a symbol that represents something that we are interested in. And then 2, we're going to have to rip it apart in a software packet. And then 3, we're going to have to stitch it back together in Stitch Era. So let's have fun. All right, so we first start out by finding a couple of characters in this language, in this calligraphy, and we get started. So I did choose this one before. I think I'm going to choose that one again because I can teach it rather well. So it's teacher for a reason. So this does not have to be the best looking image in the world. It can be pixelated beyond belief because we're going to be totally ripping it apart. So whether this is this really low end graphic, and we're going to copy it and we're going to bring it into Photoshop. So usually what we do is, let's say we have a new document and it represents the width and height of the patch that we want to make. In this case, I want a 3-inch by 2-inch patch. Okay? So we're going to go 3 by 2. So you want to start out with the document being the size of the embroidery that you want to produce. When it says 72 dots per inch, we want to maybe make that 150, but not 300. Ooh, and I wanted it the other way. So here's how you do that. Image size, and you just switch these numbers around. 2 by 3. There we go. And take this chain off, so it'll allow you to do that. There we go. That's what I want right there. Okay, we're going to paste this in. And we're going to end up stacking it the other way. Okay, to do that, we first take the marquee selection tool and then the move tool, and we're going to move this one down here. And to get it off its own thing, I'll just go edit cut, edit paste. Okay, that'll bring it in as a new object in your layers. Okay, here's my other one. I'm going to put that one over here. And then together, they look like this. So with the show transformation controls on in Photoshop and the auto select on, I can pretty much just grab these things pretty easy and just move them around. Boom. Just like that. Okay, unfortunately, the software packet does not like, let's say I went to trace this as an element inside Stitch Era, the embroidery package. It wouldn't give me the robust tools that I have here in Photoshop. So we're going to take advantage of those tools and produce these elements in here, the ones that need to be stacked up. All right. So to start out with, since there's 2 of them, Command E it. Command E takes and collapses this stack. And then we're going to make a copy of it by dragging it in here. And another copy. Okay. Between those 3 copies, we could probably pretty much get all our elements. Okay, we're going to start at the bottom, and then we're going to use the eraser tool. Okay, for this one, for this layer, I'm going to attack this element and delete all the other ones. In fact, I could probably get 2 elements out of this one. Get that one and that one. Ooh, 3. No, I see 3 elements I can get. Okay, there's 3 elements. Good. Up here, I can grab this element. So it helps being pixelated a little bit. And we're going to image trace these anyway, to be honest with you. Okay, get that out of there, get that out of there. So we were able to get 2 elements at the top and 3 at the bottom. And I'm going to start just clean this up. So this is the eraser tool. I'm using the brackets on the keyboard to make it bigger and smaller, in case you're really new at Photoshop. And I'm using Alt wheel mouse to zoom in and out. Okay, next one. Let's attack it. Go up a layer. I'm going to attack the center console here. I'm going to round this up. It might look a little bit better when it's stacked. Okay, this one I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to attack the center. Round up. And keep continuing with this until I get all the elements on all 3 layers. So this might be really boring to watch. I think you got the idea, but you can, you're free to skip through this as much as you want. Whatever you don't need in the video, just skip. All right, sweet. So there, I got so many elements now. Okay, now this will tell me which elements I need for the next one. Okay, so I need the top one, I need 3 elements, and the bottom one, I need 1 element. Do you see the 3 elements that I need? Okay. Okay, new layer, attack. One I need over here. And just toggling these on again so I can remember what ones I need. Okay, good. Okay, cool. You're going to be doing a lot of toggling just to figure out which ones you're missing. So I did pilot this assignment already with the students. They all managed to go through it. The only reason I'm doing it now or redoing this assignment is the fact that I got better video equipment now. So okay, there's that one. And boom, boom, good. Got all the elements to make that one up. And this bottom one, I need only this element right here. Oh, that might be too much for you as far as like understanding that, so I'll turn that back on. Okay, do I have all the elements now? Yep. Yeah. Are they all separated? Yes. Nothing touching? No. Okay. So now that we have all the elements, we now need to blow them apart. Okay, how do you do that? The lasso tool and a little bit of thinking. Okay, for this element, it's on the top layer. Okay, so I'm going to put it over here. Grab the lasso tool. Move this one over here. And it's going to get this thing where it's going to say, hey, you can't grab things on a layer that doesn't exist. So you got to constantly go back to this layer. And the idea here is to get them all separated so they're not touching. Okay, so this layer. Looks like that one lives here. We got to go back to the move tool, move that one out over here. Notice it has a white background. Okay, so if that is the case, okay, sometimes it is best to edit cut, edit paste, Command V, and then bring that up on the layer. There we go. I'll do that again, don't worry. There's going to be another one here. Okay, so this one, for example, this element, I highlight it. Okay. It's also Command X, Command V. And again, bring it up on the stack. Okay, let's show all our elements, move them around. Notice it has a white thing. That's okay. We'll fix that in a minute. So it looks like we have everything blown apart for the top one. How to fix the white thing is just go to multiply and it gets rid of it on the layers that have the white thing, the white outline. So that's how we blow one apart. I'll have you guys blow one apart, but if you want to watch me blow another one apart, I'm going to do it in front of you. Okay, in this case, I have this one. We go over here. That was pretty easy. Wait, did that work? Okay, it does have, needs to be floated, so Command X, Command V. Throw it up at the top and turn it to multiply. Okay, it's still in the way. I'm going to put it over here. Oh, I got one more over here to move. Okay, what layer does it live on? That one. And then I grab the lasso tool, go to the move tool, Command X, Command, didn't work. Find out where it lives. That one. So it lives on this layer. Command X, Command V. Move it up on the stack. And set it to multiply. Then I move it over here. And now, do I have all the elements separated? Yes. Are they pretty? No. But that's okay. It's not about being pretty. Just as long as they're not touching. And they're not touching the outside edge. All right. So now we have our element that we can bring into Illustrator to live trace. So that's our next stage. All right, so now we're going to take this element and bring it into Illustrator. So we save as. This is client work, so we'll call this, I don't know who my client is, to be honest with you. He never calls. So I want this to be kept with all the layers in case I want to make changes to it in some way. All right, in Illustrator, got the mug key. We're going to close that one out. We're going to go and open Kanji. And I want to convert all the layers to objects. I'm going to show the preview. And that doesn't look good, but we're going to go for it. Aha, import hidden layers, yep. Boom. All right, so what our job here is to now kind of get rid of, it doesn't have to really get rid of this too much with what we're doing, but we're going to do it anyway. Okay? Because we're going to go SVG, I think, this time to the embroidery machine. And that way everything's kind of like nicely already done for us. We'll figure it out, okay? I like to try something new. All right. Window, image trace. Located right here, image trace. You're going to get this image trace window, and it's going to look like this when you first get it, and you want it like that, okay? So what we're going to do is hit preview. And you can see that I lost an element. Did I lose an element? I think I lost an element back there. So it brought in all the layers, each one of them. Interesting. Okay. So we're going to have to start at the top because of that. Okay, so which element's this one? This one right here. So let's start at the top. Okay. Let's get out of the image tracing palette and undo once. Okay, let's shut all these off. And we got one. All right, let's do that. So we'll start at the top with this one present. Okay, image trace. Highlight it. Preview it. Good. Okay, ignore white. Okay. And then over properties, hit expand. Okay, we got to repeat this process over the entire thing. So now we hide that one, show this one, highlight, preview, ignore white, object, expand. Repeat. Okay, again, highlight, preview, ignore white, properties, expand. One. Highlight. Ignore white. Band. So if you don't forget to ignore white, you're going to have some fussy things going on. Hopefully I forget to do it once just to show you how to fix that, but I probably won't. I'll just have you redo it. I'm a mean instructor. Okay. Properties, expand. Did I do it? I don't know. Might have. Okay, so here's how you test to see if you got it all right. You should be able to turn on all these elements and they should all be present. Okay, if you're missing some, it's because you forgot. Here's how you tell. You go to outline and look at that. There's one with a box. Okay, that box is this one, the yellow layer. How do I know that? Because if I highlight the element, it shows yellow, and that's the only yellow one over here in the layer palette. Okay, so I did do it. Let me show you how to correct it. So first off, view, show transparency grid, then view preview. Okay, you got the white box, it's very present. Okay, a couple ways you can destroy this white box. I'm all for fast, so I'm going to take the white arrow and destroy the 4 dots that make up the outside. Okay, so I just highlighted them and hit delete on the keyboard. Okay, now, can all elements live? Yes. Okay, do they all have transparency borders? Yes. Are they all made out of vectors? Yes. Okay, do I need the background? No. So we're going to destroy that by dragging it into the trash. And we're going to keep all of these elements just the way they are. We're going to go back to preview. And you can actually arrange your elements how you want them now. So we could make it so they are a little easier. If you want to use the white arrow, you can highlight elements like that in case they're in groups. I'm just going to kind of bring them together a little bit. Boom. Sweet. I like it. If you wanted to add some flair to them, you could. You could like grab a point. Do that. That looks kind of cool. Make it a little swooshier. I'll do that so these, when they stack, they look better. There, they have a little bit more flair now. All right, so when we do this, we save as. And we're going to save this as SVG. Not the compressed SVG. Don't use this one, SVG. Okay, then I'm going to save it within that folder. It needs to be SVG 1.0. And it looks good. Hit OK. Usually, anytime that you're going over to something weird, like another program, you always use the lowest version of whatever you have. So SVG 1 will be compatible with most of the software out there. All right, now we're ready to move this file via flash drive over to the embroidery machine. Okay, I'm going to jump back onto the machine using this rig. So I'm going to teleport into it and show you the next steps to rip it into the threads. Okay, so I'll be back. All right, so what you're looking at right now is a Windows machine inside a Mac machine. So you're going to see these icons at the bottom. They're the Mac computer that I'm recording on. And this is the embroidery computer, which is out in the lab. I'm just teleported into it so I can show you how to work it. And you can see this up here, this corner. I have the kanji symbol. Okay, so that's the work. And we're going to be looking at this icon right here, find it, locate it, and click on it. Stitch Era Liberty. Okay, we're going to create a blank design. Not going to update just yet. Thank you. All right, what we're going to do is go to Catalogs. And we're going to bring this window over here. And there's this little thing in the corner. Click on it. And we want Images Vector. And that should bring up my kanji symbol as long as the vector image. Okay. Now we click and drag it over to here. And there it is. Now by clicking on it, you're going to find that under View or Layout, Layout, that this is really small. There's no doubt about it. That is super small, and we have to make it a little bit bigger before we even begin. So what we want is maybe 2 by 3, right? That's what we wanted to begin with. 2 by 3. Oh, and it's 2, enter. 3, and it looks like it's locked proportionally, so we're going to have 3 inches and let this one fall wherever it needs to be. So now it's within 2 to 3 of the actual ratio I brought it in at, which is weird because it's like all over the place, right? So that's okay. All right, so what you're looking at over in Object Manager is a vector pack that got brought in from the SVG. And if you click here, you'll have all these vectors all broken up, and we're okay with this. They're going to go away shortly anyway. How you navigate this program is you use this scroll feature. See, scroll. How you zoom is scroll mouse. Okay, wheel mouse. And I think that's good, just as long as you know that. So there is no magical pan unless you go up here and then you can pan. But I feel I don't want to go up there to get that pan half the time. I just want to scroll, and I want to scroll, but I don't want to go up here half the time to get the pan. Same with zoom. Like I feel these right here, this zoom area is redundant to have. This one, this is good if you, let's say, zoom out so far like that. At least you can go in here and go maximize object if you have it selected, mind you. So there's this one that I'll say zoom scale 101. Okay, that's a good way to get back. Just keep the point where it's real sensitive to move around. Just get a feel for it first before we get started. All right. So let's get into making some threads. All right. To do that, we first go and highlight the vector pack. And then we go to autocomplete. Okay. Next we go over to embroidery and choose the turning area style. Turning area with zigzag. With this green box pops up, you know you have everything correct. Okay. If this doesn't pop up, you did something wrong. You forgot to do the autocomplete first, most likely. All right, so we're going to click on one of the elements. It's going to highlight, and we're going to hit return on the keyboard. And we get this. That looks pretty good. We go down here. Nice. I would say the density could be moved to 1. Again, return on the keyboard anytime you make a change. What that did is going to make it more puffy. So you saw before the kanji symbol was kind of like arced up a little bit. So the higher this number, the puffier it gets. Within reason, don't go too high on it. And the density is the different, see how these little dots, these are where the thread is going into. So if we want to look at the 3D view, it looks like this. Now that doesn't look too dense, does it? It might need to be increased. So what I'm going to do is increase this to a certain number. Notice it's not changing because I don't have this highlighted. Okay? To highlight it and then change it. And there it goes. It's starting to get more dense. And I'm getting less and less of that white in there. Now the goal is to get it, see how these are kind of crowded on this side, but not crowded on this side. What you don't want to do is make it so that the thread holes are so close together that it rips the fabric. So sometimes you got to go back to normal and then zoom in on this area to realize how big these are. So I can't really do any more changes with this because these are too dense in this area and they're just on the verge of being too bad, but it will work. Okay, so I'm going to have to go with that density for that object, and that's 3.49. Okay, so I got that one done. Got to do this per one. Yep. So next one, you already auto completed it. Okay, so you should be able to go to turning area and go to turning area with zigzag. It should pop up and I should be able to click on it and then hit enter. Now let's say I wanted to do them all at once and then fix all those problems all at once. We could. So every object I just click on and then hit enter. Good. Now we go to select object. Number 1 was kind of a good start, to be honest with you. I like 3.49, and for the density, it looked pretty good. And then looks like this density changed on me. So I'm going to change that back to 1. All right. Now with that set, I can now go in and copy that one. And you notice I could say paste fill, paste all stitch settings without color. Okay. Now I could do that to all of these at once, holding shift to highlight them first, then right click and go paste fill to properties. Paste all without color. So that made all of them fixed all at once. Let's go, right? Yeah. Yeah. So now we have to kind of rebuild this whole thing. It works like this. this is object 1. So this gets done in this order. So for example, if I move this one over to here and then hit return, this one right here is the next to be laid down. Okay, it's in reverse order. So the top one, this one gets done first, second. So the needle will do this. It'll do this one next. 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 So let's think about how that's going to stack, right? We got to figure out which items are going to be at the bottom of the stack. Okay. Well, probably these long poles are going to be at the very bottom. So we can move those down. But forget, this is this thing. So you want to put these in a chronological order the right way because it's got numbers in front of it. But remember, it goes through it at like this order. So in other words, it's going to embroidery this one first, and then the next one is going to be the next one. Let me explain. Okay. So let's go to the next big pole thing. Move that here. And then that's going to be number 2 because it's in the background. I gotta see what this looked like before, right? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Move that here. Anytime you move it, you have to hit enter. The vector pack really isn't useful anymore, to be honest with you. And you can right click on that and say hide objects. I wouldn't delete it, I would just hide it. Okay, this object's going to go here. So I'm just going to sort these out first and then I'll worry about what order they need to be in. This one's pretty much done for me. Got lucky on that. Okay, so to deselect something, so I will lock these into place. Okay, that's how you lock things. So when I do this number, if I happen to get some vectors in there, it won't affect it. Looks about right. All right, now that I got those done, now I can work on the order in Z-axis forward. So this would be the first one to lay down. This is going to be the second one to lay down. What goes on top of that? This, okay? So that's going to be number 3, okay? This is going to be number 4. This is going to be number 5. Going to be number 6. This one's going to be number 7. All right, lastly, these little guys are 8. 9 is 9, good. Okay, these go on top of everything. So 10 and 10. How do I know I got all that right? Well, good question, virtual student. You go in here and choose 3D, you can see which ones are stacked on top of each other. Okay? You can also see that this one might need to be moved over a little bit this way. There we go. That's how it's done. Now if we grab all of them, it ended up to be 1.3 by 3 inches. So this is okay because we have a hoop size that we have to kind of manage. So I would say 3 inches is fine. All right, next. We want to come over here to embroidery and hit center design. Okay. We might have to hit that again. So we want to start point, start at first section, and then end point, end at last section. And again, I hit center design. Just check my size again, make sure everything's good. And that is a beautiful design. Beautiful. But we won't know until we actually make it. So that's the whole thing. So now, make sure that you save your work. Save the document. So this one will allow you to make changes. It's very important that you have this one saved out. Just in case something's bad, you can go back. Okay. Now, we'll move on to the next part of this video, which is going to keep continuing. I just need a break. All right, so I wanted to show you this. This is a 5-inch embroidery hoop. What the plan is always, as a new student, start out with a bigger hoop than what's necessary, because that way you can learn the machine without hurting the machine. Okay? So if we have a 3-inch max design, so I got 3 inches in the center here, right? So let's say I had 3 inches, 3 inches. This right here is in the center of this hoop. I have a whole lot of room to mess up before the needle hits the hoop. Okay, that's why we're making 3-inch designs, because we're using this hoop. Okay, so it's not limited. It's not a limitation to saying, "Hey, kid, go make a 12 by 12." You know what I mean? You start out small and understand it, and then you can branch on. I will say the bigger the hoop, the more difficult it is to hoop it. So we start out small. That way, it's easy for you guys to learn dexterity, and you will, and you'll love dexterity of these things. So great. All right, so that's what I want to show you before we go much further. Okay. Now, I'll turn that off. Jump back into here. Get back into the software. So that's why it's very important that we know the dimensions of this over here. I keep pointing that out because every time I don't, People make really tiny ones or real huge ones, and it hits the hoop every time. So I got to keep pointing it out 100 times. All right, so now we're ready to export. There is a flash drive with a monkey on it. Yeah, that's right, I said monkey. It's over by the embroidery machine. It's a very old flash drive, and it works really well with the embroidery machine because it's so old. Newer ones don't work very well. So we do not lose the embroidery flash drive. Very important. It's got a monkey on it. It's gray. It stays over in that area. It's not useful for anything. I think it's only 4 gigs. Okay? So it's a real old flash drive. All right. So it's in the computer right now. So I'm going to export this. And you see where it says public? See, all of this great stuff is on it. Okay? A lot of junk, to be honest with you. So when you name something, name it your name. And it's only going to understand the first 4 characters. So in other words, J Con is all you're going to see. I think 4 or 5 characters. So Jason Kanji. Keep it really short. All right, so we're going to save this. What that did is write 2 files onto that thing. So let's go look at it. So I get a JAKAN, okay? And the other one is the DSTEOX. One's kind of like a setup file for it. Neither one of these can ever be opened or edited ever, okay? So that's why it's very important that you save this onto the computer and then the export, because you cannot edit the export. All right, so that's in the machine right now, or in the computer, and that's done. We'll run that in a minute, or at least go out there and set up the machine and show you how to run it. There's several stages. You have to load it into the machine. You have to hoop a hoop, and you have to make sure all the thread for needle 1 is there. You also have to do a thing called a test, and you have to do that test several times. So there's several steps that need to be done in an order, and if you skip one step, it could hurt the machine. Ready? Okay. We're going to make a hoop first, because I can do that in this room, and at least prep that one out. All right, we're going to do a hoop. Okay, you're going to need several things. You're going to need this ring. Okay, this is a 5-inch ring. How do you know which ring you got? Well, it's going to fit perfectly on your 5-inch one. Okay, so it's very important that you get the ring that fits that. Next, you're going to need this. It's a roll of terrible material. It's not that it's terrible. It's terrible. Okay. Dumb embroidery joke. Next, you're going to need a Pelion. Okay, this is a very cheap fabric alternative that we're going to be using as a test. So Pelion. These are located in the screen printing area. So you need all 3 of those things. Scissors might be a good thing. I forgot them, so I'm not going to have them until later. But first I'm going to tear a piece of terrible material, because I don't have scissors. I want you to use scissors. Don't do what I'm doing, because you'll waste a bunch of crap. Only because I forgot them in this room. Okay, so look at it. Boom, boom. Okay, it fits over that hoop. Okay. Move the keyboard out of the way here so I got the max amount of error. Yeah. Now, this right here, when you go to put it on here, does it fit and does it stick? Like if I go like this, it goes like this. See how it sticks into place? Good. All right. So you put your terrible material down first. Then you put your Pelion. And if you put your Pelion down, make sure you put it so that you're not wasting too much Pelion, because I'm going to cut this off over here. Same with your terrible material. Maybe you can get 2 of these out in this piece that I cut. All right, good to go. Now you put this over the top of it. And you kind of feel your way to like centering this within that hoop. Okay. This is where everything's going to shake because the camera is hooked to the table. And then you stand up, you pressure on both sides, and then you do one of these. Look at that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so this is a Pelion. It is cheap. There is no cheating. Okay, so it's not like I can, after the fact, go like this. See the back side of it, nice and taut. Okay, no wrinkles, no nothing. It's nice and flat. It could be a little tighter, to be honest with you, but it's what we got. All right. Now what you do is you trim off all of this. Okay. And you don't have to. I mean, like you could put it in the machine just like that, but I would trim out this area. And that's how you hoop a hoop. Easy. Now that we have our hoop, we have to go show you how to put it in the machine and do a lot of things out there. So all right, so when approaching the embroidery machine, there is a power button on this side. Okay, it's a left-hand side, it's way back there. Okay. All right, to put this in the embroidery machine, make sure that this is trimmed off. So you should find some scissors behind you somewhere, hopefully. Do a little chop on it. Okay, so it should look like this. All right, then you're going to feed it into the machine like that. And then you will put it under these clips on both sides. One of the biggest questions asked ever is how do I get it out? Because when you pull it, okay, so what you do is you put your thumb right here and then you lift up with your finger and it'll lift it past that gate. On both sides that happens. So let's practice it. See? Lift up. If you hear that click on both sides, it's good to go. All right, to load something into memory, like our design, you take your monkey drive. Okay, you plug it into the cord that comes off the machine. And then you come over to the user interface. I'll try to zoom in as best I can. Alright, first we turn off embroidery mode by going here to this one and then hitting enter. That's this one. Alright, once this is red, we can now import something into the machine. So we import it using the star button. We input design into memory. Hit enter. You can page down. Choose your design that you saved on your monkey drive. Hit enter. Remember this number, it's very important. 117. Hit enter. Okay. Then enter one more time. Oop. Escaped that one, sorry. Okay, so now we go up, select design for embroidery. Hit enter. This is the slot it gave me. The last one was 118 because I imported it twice. Then hit enter. And last, we make sure this is yellow again by clicking this button and then hit enter. And that is how you import something into memory and then put it into the machine ready for embroidery. Alright, to run a contour check, we have to know that these arrows exist, okay, and this one. So there should be first needle 1. Press it. The machine will probably go to needle 1. We always center based upon needle 1. No matter if it's 100 colors or what, it's always needle 1 that we center within the hoop. So once we hit 1, the machine will move, it'll go to needle 1, and then we just have these arrow keys. This one right here, when it has 2 arrows, means fast. And if I click it one more time in the center, this means slow. So now it makes really fine adjustments. Let me show you what fast and slow looks like on the hoop. Okay, here is slow. Here is fast. Okay, so here's needle 1. Generally what I do is I'll point out to students there's a dot here and there's a dot here, and what we're aiming for is the center of this hoop, and you have to kind of spot it on. So it's really hard to do that with fast on, but with fine we can make fine adjustments. So, yeah, there we go. So that's in the center of the world. You can press this down. Just make sure that you're not getting your hand trapped in here, obviously. If you use the one finger rule, I've never had anybody. You don't have to push this down. You can just kind of spot it on and then go like that if that's what you feel comfortable with doing. But that's generally how I center the needle. Alright, once we have centered the needle, we have to now set that as a new home. We do that by going over here, set home, and go down to set start and hit enter, and then enter. We've already loaded the thing into memory for a contour check. Now that thing has a contour check that we have to run. All designs have a contour check. So to run a contour check, you go home, contour range check, and then you hit enter. So notice it has not gotten close to the outside edge at all, and it goes back to center. If it doesn't go back to center like that, two things could be wrong. One, you forgot to hit set start. Two, in the design file, you didn't specify end point and start point. So if you're at all confused why it doesn't go back, try running it twice, and if it fails both times, that means you need to go back to the software and fix it there. Alright, now we have a good range check. Again, that must be done every time. And again, you can run that 100 times, it's okay. I'm running this again just to show you what things I'm looking for. I'm making sure that this needle does not get close to the outside of the hoop at all. And we're talking, it should be at least a ½ inch away from all the way around. If it's not, you need to fix the file so it fits within the frame. Alright, so anytime you're running an embroidery job, you should always check these, because you never know who loaded the machine. So I'm going to go through each and every one of these. Okay, the first one is right here. Okay, the thread should come out and in behind this one bracket. Okay, the next one is really hard to see via the video, but you lift up on this little coil right here. I'm going to shake the camera just a little bit as I go over something and try to get the camera over to it. You can lift up behind here, and there should be a little peg right there. The thread needs to go in back of the peg. See how it just fell out? So that's incorrect. You know you have it if you can pull on it and it doesn't fall out. So okay, I should be able to pull it this way. Notice it doesn't come out. That is correct. Okay, the next step is coming down here to this spindle. Okay, and what you do is it should go into the spindle, if I can get a hold of it. It should go into the spindle, around, and what I like to do is go around once and then down. Okay? So again, let me do that again. So I'll fix the top one first. So it goes in, around, and then behind the peg. Boom. You know you have it because it clicks. You hear the clicking? And you'll feel a little bit of a tension on it. Okay, so now we go to the next step. Now the next one is in back of this plate. Okay, next one is this right here. So first off, before you even get started, make sure that this is exactly straight. It shouldn't look like that. It shouldn't look like this. It should be exactly poking out straight. Okay? You should probably trim your thread so it has a nice little like flat to it at this point. And this is where it gets fun, especially for students that have no dexterity. So there's this little spring, you see it? So the spring, what you need to do is push on the spring and put it through the spring. Okay, this is where tweezers come in handy. and you grab the thread. Just like that. So I should be able to go like that, and that's what it does. Okay, good. Next, it goes up into this one. Go ahead and pull on it. I'm going to actually unthread some of these other ones so you can see what the next step is. Okay, so now it goes down into this hole. Okay, do you see how when I put it down in the hole, these are crossed? Okay, it shouldn't have that, and that's a very common thing when students do it. They do it too quickly, so I want to show you that. It happens to me too. So sometimes what you do is you put your finger here as you're putting it through the hole. Okay, so it should look like this. Let me zoom out. And let me point to things using tweezers. It should come down straight. It should go in that spring. It goes back up into this arm, and then back down. This all has space between all the threads. It is not tangled in any way, shape, or form. You can see that straight line. See that thread? See this thread? You see this thread. There's space here. It is not tangled. All right, cool. So next step. It goes down into this hole. Just like that. Okay, I gotta realign the camera, so I'll be right back. Okay, so at the next step, I'm gonna try to get you in here. So there's a hook just in back of this thread. So once it's going down into the hole, it goes in back of this little hook. Okay, pull it out. I would trim your thread again to make a nice blunt thread. And this is where students struggle too. So you're gonna go right in that needle. What I would do is hold it 1 inch, okay, about 1 inch onto the thread, and then poke into the needle. You'll find it's a lot easier than trying to hold it too close to the edge of the thread. And there we go. So it's in there. All right. Once it's in there, you grab it with tweezers. Don't try to do this by hand. And you're going to put your finger here and draw it out so that it doesn't double loop against your needle. It should go straight into your needle and straight out of your needle. If it's wrapped around the needle, it will break. All right, so that is almost the last step. So we want to make this sure it's in the back of the needle going straight out. It should go straight in, straight out. And then you put it into the spring, just like that. And that is how you thread a 15 head embroidery machine. That's how you thread one. Again, I think I want to just kind of go up the ladder. So it's in the needle, it's straight, okay? It's going in back of the hook, It's going all the way up. Okay, make sure it's in that spring. It's going all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, straight. It's going into this. Okay, it's going in back of this clip. The last thing which you should check, it doesn't happen too often, but here's the thread in the back, okay? Again, make sure it works just the same way. Just make sure when you lift this up, it's going in back of the little peg. If it's not, it will break. All right, so that is all the steps required to thread the embroidery machine. So one student probably changed the color. So right here is where we change the color, this 3 needle. And then enter, set color. So needle 1 needs to be in here first. So we put needle 1. And it doesn't really matter too much about these other colors. So if you saw, I paged over using the arrow tool, and then I set that one to 1 by hitting 1. Okay. If you ever need a double digit number, you just hit, actually you hit 10, 1. So for example, a 10, 1 is 11. A 10, 0 is 10. As long as the first needle is there, that's what you need. And then hit enter. All right. So should I run this or should I do a contour range check? The answer is contour range check every time. Okay, it went back to center. So now I'm confident enough to hit the green button, and sure enough, there it goes. So I'm going to stop this, and we're going to pretend this is a thread break, okay? Let's say it was a thread break right now. What would you do? So first you fix all the thread, just correlating to what I showed you in the video on how to thread it. But if you press this button right here, it will rewind it a little bit. So what you want to do is hit that just for a second. I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm going to rewind it just a little bit, and then you can rewind it pretty far back, but right there is where we're going to start. And again, you would make sure this thread is up in the spring. Okay, pretend I just fixed it, and then hit the green button. Here's another example. Like, I wouldn't go in there and try to remove that thread. I would just let it go. Alright, so pulled out of the machine, you can look at the design, and we can identify things that we need to change in the design. If we look at the back is really good. It's really nice, okay? It's almost as nice as the front. But what we're looking at here is the spacing for the needles. So if you look real close at this, you can see those holes are very close together. That makes your embroidery quite weak, okay? So we would have to change some stuff in the design on the software to space those needles out.
I'll show you where that is. Other than that, you would just go in and trim all these.
All right, so you've seen that. You've seen the hole spacing on the embroidery, and yes, that does make it incredibly weak when it comes down to it. That's why we use Pelion to start out with, because it's like the worst case scenario. And then after that, you know, like we get it onto something that looks like this, which is a real, actual fabric. So what you do is you first run it on Pelion, get it to look good, and then you can run it on a piece of fabric. Because Pelion's cheap. Fabric's cheap too, but Pelion really tells the truth when it comes down to like needle spacing and everything else. So it's a pretty good beta test material. All right, so if you look at your design, see how it says density, okay? Density 3.49. So because of this density, that's why the needle spacing is it's so dense, right? That's what it is. So what you could do here is you can't, I don't know if you can select yet because and lower it all at once. In previous ones, you can't do that. Oh, you can now. Sweet. So you might want to try a 2.5 and see if that clears that up. And I would leave the zigzag density alone. It felt pretty puffy, but I guess if you wanted to try to play with it to see if you can get more puffy, you could. I didn't see any problem as far as the spacing is concerned on the internal stitches on that. It was just the outer stitches. So you could probably go maybe to 1.5 on that and see how that goes. Other than that, that is how you embroider something in one color. Okay, we'll go on to like a two-color job and how to separate that. We'll probably use the same example to show you how that works, and we'll just change some elements of it to be a second color. It's not much different as far as running the job. The only thing different is you have to make sure, one, all the needles are in fact threaded. Two, you have to set your colors on the machine, and over here in the software you have to make sure that it's like needle 1, needle 2, needle 3. These colors don't mean much at all. Like these colors right here are just placeholders for the actual thread on the machine. So this red could be orange on the machine. This green could be yellow or something else on the machine. It only dictates that those are separate colors. That's it, if that makes sense. You'll experience that as you go on in embroidery. The other thing is when you do a two-color job, you're going to have a thing called continuous, and that means that the needles are in fact lined up 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't matter the colors. So if that is all confusing, don't worry about it. We'll go over it in the two-color example. For right now, this is the single-color example. This is all of the training combined into one really long video that's broken up into hopefully chapters, if I figure that out. And then other than that, I hope you enjoyed.
Okay, so let's go into changing the bobbin. Okay, that's one of the things. Let's say you ran out of bobbin. Okay, if you run out of bobbin in the middle of something, you could just keep it there and it'll be all right. And then you can reach down here. The only reason I took the design out is because that way I could show you how to properly do this. Okay, so first off, this door, carefully open it. Okay, and I mean carefully because they make this plastic out of the cheapest plastic in the world, and it does break. Okay, the next thing is there's this little flap. You can see there's quite a bit of buildup on the inside of this. Okay, quite a bit of buildup. Let me get it zoomed in as possible. Good. So the first thing we're going to do is take this door, go like that. You see this thing? We do not want to bend this out. We want to snake this away from it. So we're going to take this little flap, pull it out, and then kind of tilt it like this, and then drop it down. Okay, so to change the bobbin, you need a new bobbin, and we're just simulating this. Let's pretend this is gone, dead. Ran out of bobbin. So you're going to get a bobbin. It's going to look like this. Okay. You take your shield, I don't know what they call this really, bobbin holder, and you put it in here. Okay, and then this goes up and around, and it should fall between these two teeth. The next thing you're going to do is rotate it around, and you're going to pull it out a little bit, and there's this little tail. It's like a pigtail, and you're going to go like that. So it should go out from there. You'll know you have it right if you can go like this. Okay, it should support itself when dangled. It shouldn't unravel. Okay, so now we got to put it back in there. Okay, first off, take the opportunity to clean up in here. Take your tweezers, you know, grab some stuff out. This will need to be maintenance really soon. Okay, we're going to again snake this in. We're not twerking or tweaking or hardly even touching this right here. Very important. It does take a little bit of patience to get it in there. Sometimes getting it at an angle is good. There we go. Got it. Okay. Once you've got it, the door's still open. Okay. I press to the back and then I put the door back in. So now this gets pulled out. Okay. And then nicely close the door. Don't let it snap. And that's how you change the bobbin. Now you can pretty much fix any, let's say you had a thread break, fix any thread breaks, and keep continuing to run your work. Okay, the other thing that happens all the time is a needle break. Okay, so a needle break looks like this. I'm going to have this needle, it's snapped, and I'm going to have to change it, and I'm going to have to find this screwdriver. Okay. You're also going to have to find the needles, which are located in the drawer behind you. We're going to be using the knits and synthetic. Okay, they look like that. Okay, so what you do to get a needle out, let's see if I can get this and film it. Alright, you look for this screw and you loosen it. And you could take and drop the needle out. If it doesn't drop out, loosen it more, of course. Alright, so we got to snake the needle right out of there. Now the needle has a flat side with a flute, and the other side has no flute. So it's got like a little channel. that channel will go facing you. Here's a quick way to replace a needle. Get a pair of tweezers that have a relatively good, like right about in this area of the tweezers. If you go like this, it will keep it flat. Okay? So what you could do is first snake the needle back in, and then go like that. And squeeze rather hard right in this area of the tweezers, right about here. And that will keep it flat. If you don't get the right angle, it will cut thread and you'll keep constantly breaking thread. It cannot have an angle whatsoever. While you're holding this, okay, let's see if I can get this and film it at the same time. Okay, I'm rotating the screwdriver and holding the tweezers at the same time. Boom. Okay. So now this needle is absolutely flat this way. You can see the channel. I could run my tweezers down that channel if I wanted to. And that is the correct way to put a new needle in. All right, I get this question all the time. Mr. Welsh, I do not like the color thread on needle 1. So I will show you how to fix that. So I will take a color from over here. I'll do worst case scenario. So I'll take this is one of the ones from in the back, and I leave a tail. Okay, always leave a tail and break it off. Leave that tail over there because you got to use that to re-thread a new one. So I don't like this gold. Okay, again, you just take that thread, break a really long tail. Okay. You put the new thread in its position and you come over here and you tie a knot. Just your standard loop knot. Nothing fancy. Okay, oops. All right, now you take some scissors and you cut as close to the knot as possible, kind of. Leave maybe about a 1/2 inch. And then what you do is you take your thread out of your needle and you pull. And this will pull the new thread all the way through the machine, and there it is. Boom. You got your new color, just like that. And you just rethread your needle. That's how you change the color on any of them, but that's how you change the color on needle 1.